Anthony, hello to you too. But mate, I go straight from the gym, I go and take the dog for a walk, and I rush into here to talk to you guys. I got no time to look good, mate. Sorry. but but yes, it is yeah. I'll be with you guys shortly. I'm just setting up YouTube, and once that's set up, we're good to go. We've got the same three cyclone signals to discuss today, folks. So I'll be with you in a sec. Okay, go back here. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Hey, Zabinator. I've seen your message, so that's good. That means YouTube's working. That's fantastic. Alrighty, g'day folks, my name's Chris Nitzo, Weather IQ's lead forecaster. We're talking about three tropical low signals near Australia. We talked about these last night. We just want to see there's been one major change to what we talked about 2 nights ago, and the big signal that's changed is probably the most important one, right? It's the one that's in the Gulf of Carpentaria, or in the Gulf country right now, located south of Normanton, northeast of Mount Isa. It's tracking westwards, and it's tracked westwards a little faster than it was supposed to track westwards. And so because of that, what we are seeing longer term is quite a difference in the expected forecast overall of where the system's going to go. And especially for top-end residents, that's could be a bit of an issue for you that you need to be aware of. Hello to everyone. Leanne, Bianca, Christy, non-script, Tony, how you going, guys? Thanks for tuning in. By the way, folks, our major sponsor on the top left, Fairtington Builds. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. And without our generous subscribers who can go to weatheriq.com.au/subscribe for $32 a year. And you can get all my forecasts during the wet season, so you're not left surprised by stuff. $32.95 is what it starts at, and obviously if you want the whole package, including all the model data and all that stuff, all the graphics, it's $69.95 a year. We thank everyone for their support. If you can't support us, just make sure you're joining in here and asking questions and learning and yeah, seeing what we're about. Alrighty, let's get stuck into it. So we've got a low pressure system located, let's go back to here, located to the northeast of Mount Isa. We're seeing some very significant thunderstorms right in the places where we don't want any more rain. Today, this is areas to the southeast of Mount Isa through Julia Creek, out towards Richmond on the Flinders Highway. These are areas that we really don't want any more rain at all because of the current flood situation and the previous flood situation. Unfortunately, this low doesn't want to bugger off anytime soon, so it's moving west, but it's moving west fairly slowly, and so there's going to be some further rainfall through this area, and we'll deal with that firstly before we actually start talking about where the low's going. So when we take a look here at the modelling, we can see that there's substantial rainfall to come for northwest Queensland tonight. As we go into the overnight period, we can see those showers and thunderstorms will probably break up into rain areas with a little bit of lightning inside the rain areas. But once again, fairly significant rainfall over a large chunk of the region. And then as we continue, we can see that this continues on into tomorrow afternoon. The storm activity will be a little bit more isolated tomorrow, but still scattered enough that it's going to be causing some inflows into these river systems. Moving forward, though, there is good news on the way for this area. We do expect to see the low move into the Northern Territory, so into the Carpentaria or the Barkly district of the NT. And from there, we should see a gradual decrease in rainfall in this region and a fairly dry change pushing up into this area. So we then need to focus on the Northern Territory. So if we go to Katherine and have a look at how things will gradually progress through the top end, Darwin, Katherine, Gove to a lesser extent. And let's have a look here at what happens with regards to rainfall and that sort of thing through this region. Now, just to be clear, we're not 100% sold on the system doing what some of the modelling is showing and becoming a massive cyclone off WA. That's not 100% sold on us yet. But I just want to show you the sort of increase in rainfall that we're going to see through the top end. So initially just some gusty showers and possible thunderstorms tomorrow. And you can see right over there through Darwin, Jabba, and up towards the Coburg. So these will be pretty gusty. Be careful here. These will have some pretty strong wind gusts. When we take a look at our 700 hectopascal winds here, we can see they're very strong southerlies, and so don't be surprised if these move south to north and have a bit of bite to them, okay? So just don't take them lightly. They're not going to be your typical Darwin pulses. These are going to have a lot of wind associated with them. So that's Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. Friday, we're expecting to see lots of rain and storms developing around the western top end as we begin exciting the monsoonal flow. As the low starts to move into this region, we're going to start to see that monsoonal flow ramp up, and you can see that as we get into the weekend, we're seeing a significant chunk of rainfall off the western top end, with the likelihood that the low will probably, not definitely, but probably try and get off the coastline. All right, so that's the expectation there. Once it gets off the coastline, things will settle down pretty quick for Darwin. But just be aware that there's a period there, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, probably even into Tuesday, where we're looking at some pretty substantial rainfall intensities across that western top end. So that's our best made plan at the moment. Now that's changed a lot. If you tuned in 2 nights ago, we were looking at this going maybe up to the southern Gulf and then coming back over to Queensland, right? So that's changed a lot. And the reason it changed is when we talked about the steering last time, we talked about the idea that the system was going to be stuck between an upper ridge and an upper trough. I'll show you what I mean here. So we were talking about the system being a little bit further east around Mornington Island, and expected to be sort of somewhere in between an upper trough and an upper ridge, and nothing really taking control. But because the low has moved a little further west in the last 2 days than it was expected to, well, now the upper ridge becomes the dominant factor of steer. And so the idea would be that this system is probably going to take a little bit of ride on the ridge towards the northwest and get up towards that western top end, southern Darwin Daly district. Now, there is a school of thought as it gets further northwards, if it gets too far northwards, what will likely happen is that it'll induce the monsoon to be a lot stronger and deeper. And so then the monsoon will try to counteract the flow from the ridge. And so we're going to see a system that becomes fairly slow moving and might even move back to the east. So this is what I'm saying. We can't rule anything out when it gets to about the Northern Territory now, because we understand that the monsoon might actually increase in intensity, and that could bring the thing scuttling back over to the east as well. So it's pretty tricky. Let's talk about probabilities, probability guidance. So probability guidance, this is our legend down here. So this tells us anything in the blue we're pretty confident in, anything in the purple we're very confident in. All right, lock it in, Eddie. Anything in the green we're sort of could happen, could not happen. Anything in the yellow, orange, red we're not too concerned about. All right, so we can see that this low in the next couple of days... All right, so in the next couple of days is moving northwest, and we're pretty confident. See how we got the blue? We're pretty confident that it's going to move northwest. We're not set, we're not 100% sure, but we're pretty confident it'll move northwest. Now, it gets to around east of Port Keats, right? That's about as far west as we're confident. Then, as we go into the next day, you can see it gets just a touch further to the west. So that's about as far as we're confident, right around that area between Port Keats and the Tiwi Islands, so including Darwin, of course. All right, so that's where our low is probably going to lie as we go into, what's this time? Sunday morning. So by Sunday morning, our low is likely to be in this blue area here. That blue area is a fairly large area, right? So that could be as far east as just east of Katherine, and it could be as far west as off the Columbaroo coastline. All right, so just understand that blue, while we're confident, we're not confident exactly where in that blue it's going to be. As we continue, we can see that the blue generally moves in a westerly direction off the coast, and this is taking us to Monday morning. So on Monday morning, we see the system basically moving in a more westerly direction. Tuesday morning, we see it continuing to move in a westerly direction, but see how we're starting to lose a little bit of confidence? Yeah, and see how we've just got a little bit of yellow there in the Gulf of Carpentaria? Yeah, that's because as I said to you, if the system moves northwards, it may induce a deeper monsoonal flow, and that monsoonal flow might try and charge the system back out here towards the Gulf. All right, so that's why we start losing a bit of confidence west, and we start gaining a touch of confidence east. But we're still reasonably confident that the system's going to be somewhere in there. All right, as we continue, we can see that we lose a fair bit of confidence on the western solution as we move into Wednesday. So notice that our probabilities are dropping off. They're more around the it might happen, it might not happen type probability now. All right, and the Gulf system, we're starting to get a little bit more confident in. So we're seeing evidence that it might not just be a simple, it's going to move west and then off the coastline. It might be more of a, it's going to move west and then we're not exactly sure how it's going to manoeuvre when it comes into contact with the monsoon again. All right, so that's where we've got here. That's why we've got the sort of two separate areas, right? The one in the Gulf and the one in the west. It could be a case of, if the system's really broad, that it's just a low with sort of two centres, but it appears less likely. It does look likely that the low is going to have one centre of circulation as it pushes northwestwards, as opposed to being a broad trough with two sort of circle end bits, right? So one on the west, one on the east. So it's likely that it's going to have to make a decision. If it gets up to here and the monsoon gets strong, it might hurtle off to the east. If it gets up to here and the monsoon doesn't really strengthen in response or deepen in response, and the upper ridge is strong, it'll just keep going west. All right, now here's where it gets a little tricky for WA folk, is that at some point in the next 8 to 12 days, we're probably expecting the big ridge that's driving everything west to start to weaken. And so this now brings an element of doubt about the possibility of the system curving back towards the coast. So it's not a done deal that it's going to move west, west, west all the way like all the others have done. This one may show some signs of southerly motion as we move into, and the time frames here, we're moving into the end of next week. So you can see how far away we're looking here. So obviously not high confidence forecast, and that's reflected by the colour scheme. You can see when we start getting the yellows, we may as well not really talk about it because we don't have a clue, to be honest. All right, so once we get down yellow, orange, red, not interested because we just don't know at that point. All right. Now, over to the east in Queensland, you would have noticed there's a bit of colour near the Coral Sea, near the Townsville area, Townsville-Mackay area. All right, so there's a bit of a trough. So let me talk you through what's going on here. So we've got a low that's developing in the eastern Coral Sea. Listen, don't stress about this one. It's not coming our way. We've got a low that's developing in the eastern Coral Sea. It's going to move northeast for the next couple of days. And then it's going to start to deepen out here in the northeastern Coral Sea, all right, northwestern New Caledonia. Now, around the Queensland coastline, we're going to see a bit of a southerly that starts to come up the coast from late Sunday, Monday. And on the western edge of that southerly, there could be a bit of an inducement of some rotation on the western side. So think of this as one big trough. So there's a big trough that links this low in the western parts of Australia to this low, which is ex-Koji, coming this way to this low over to the east, and there's a trough that intersects the coast between Townsville and Mackay during that time. Now, on that trough line, we could see a little weak rotational eddy that develops very close to the coast. That might enhance rainfall if it happens over the mainland, but eventually it will take the rain away. And what we see there is you can see that green signal is moving away from the coastline. But that initialisation process, which is going to happen on Sunday or Monday, that initialisation process could enhance the rainfall in that area before it pushes away from the coast. And you can clearly see we're we're moderately confident that it's going to push away. We're moderately confident that it'll even exist, but then we're very confident if it exists that it's going to move away from the coast. With our big cyclone in the Coral Sea, the expectation is nothing changed from what we talked about 2 nights ago, okay? So with this particular system, we're just going to see that northeast motion, stalling, little bit of a westerly jut, and then bang, straight out to the south-southeast, straight out to the graveyard. And our little Queensland eddy that develops in the Cairns to sort of Mackay coastline, that'll follow it out to sea. All right, so that's the expectation off Queensland's coast. Pretty boring stuff, to be honest, around Queensland. And what will happen there is that will quite likely dry the state out with that cyclone pushing that way, and then the little eddy coming off the coast to create a bit more dry air push from the southeast. Now, just be aware though that if ex-Kojak over here decides to start hurtling back towards Queensland, that will make sure that that dry air can't penetrate all the way northwards. All right, so you know it's a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot of moving parts, and each part depends on another part, right, for the forecast to verify. So just understand here that if Kojak starts moving back this way, Kojak may bring in a bit of moisture back into the north instead of getting that big dry surge of air through. Okay, so just be aware that that does throw a little spanner in the works as we go into mid to late next week. As we go into next weekend, we expect the cyclone in the Coral Sea to be down near New Zealand. We expect the little eddy off the Townsville-Mackay coast to no longer exist. And so what we may see again is the monsoon begin drifting southwards again. So it might be a case of quite a showery, stormy Australia Day period coming up for the region as that moisture starts to filter back southwards again through North Queensland. All right, so that's the expectation over the next 7 to 10 days. It is quite tricky. There's a lot of moving parts. And as I say, if one of those moving parts doesn't go to plan, it then changes the forecast of the other moving parts. All right, so just understand that. One thing we can be very clear on though, can I just be very clear on this one, just to make sure that there's no ambiguity here. There is no sign whatsoever of this tropical cyclone that's going to happen in the Coral Sea coming back, even with all these moving parts not playing the game properly, all these other moving parts. There's absolutely zero reason to suggest that this thing is coming back to Queensland, all right? So there might be a slight westerly motion at this time here. So Saturday into Sunday, there might be like 100, 200 k's of westerly motion on those 2 days, and then bang, straight out to the south and south-southeast. Now, it could become quite a significant cyclone, all right? So, and you can see there that there's quite a number of models that take it into Cat 2, 3, 4 range, but absolutely no threat whatsoever. You can see the furthest western solution we've got is one that pushes it about, 600 k's off the coast. That's the closest to the coast it ever gets. So this isn't something I'd be very concerned about. The biggest thing this is going to do is drive a surge of dry air through Queensland. And the other big thing it's going to do is create some fairly significant swells and waves and even some winds in offshore areas, particularly around southeast Queensland and southern central Queensland. All right, so that's the expectation. I've just got a warning on my thing, on my, I hope YouTube's still on. I've just got a little warning there on YouTube, something happened. Right, I didn't swear, did I? Sometimes I get a warning for swearing too much. All right, so the idea is that's what we're expecting with this one, okay? So this is a New Zealand problem and maybe a Norfolk Island problem. It is not a Queensland problem, so nothing to stress out about for Queenslanders. But it does give us an idea about the possibilities of the NT system. So you can see the NT system coming off the coast there in a few models. You know, and once again, we're really broken up about how that all works. We're really not confident about anything once it gets off the NT coast, if it even gets off the NT coast. And you can see at the same time, as we got these green dots out here, so Tuesday, Wednesday next week, you'll notice that we've got just as many green dots out here, right? So that means that, you know, we could see a system that sort of pushes out towards the territory and then quickly scuttles over towards the Gulf and then quickly off the coast of FNQ if we induce a stronger monsoon. So you can see in these models out here, we're taking the system and gradually pushing it southeastwards or southwards. But overall, not overly interesting, this system, if it did form. Looking quickly at some of our other modelling. Right, so this is the Euro modelling. You can see it's a bit more of a jumbly mess. It's a little bit more messy, but clearly the same thing with that Coral Sea system. Nothing to stress out about. Obviously, the big watch will be Queensland. So we can see this is that little Townsville system that I'm talking about, right? And you can see quite a number of models are picked up on it on Saturday. So Friday, on Saturday, Sunday and Monday. So quite a number of models are picking up that little Townsville system and pushing it off the coast and then bang, straight out to sea. Away it goes out, basically follows the Coral Sea cyclone out to sea. All right, so that's that particular system. And by the way, looking at that colour scheme, the thing's barely a low as it pushes off the coast. So it's basically just what I'd said, an eddy there. It's not really a structured cyclone or anything like that. So nothing to stress out about in that Herbert Burdekin area. It just might give us a few more showers as it pushes through. Right, so that's that one. And of course, as I said, with this NT1, we really don't know. You know, the model's a little bit too aggressive here in developing it and a little bit too confident when there's not as much confidence as there should be. And you can see there that we're not exactly confident. And the big thing that we'd be watching if it did this was, see these little suckers down here that come back onto the coast? Yeah, these ones are something we do need to pay attention to a longer term if we can get the cyclone off the coast to start with. All right, so certainly something for the Pilbara to be watching longer term. We're talking here, what are we talking? Past the 10-day time frame. So we're talking beyond day 9, beyond day 10, right? That's where we could see that curve back at the coastline. All right, but still a long way to go, lots of moving parts. And last but not least, folks, the last thing I've got for you tonight is the Charters Towers area. They've got the biggest cricket carnival in Australia coming up this weekend. Charters Towers is a little place here southwest of Townsville. It's actually not a little place. I think it was once gold capital of the state. The Charters Towers has a massive cricket carnival. It's just an amateur cricket carnival. Bunch of teams come through from all over Australia, and they all have a great weekend out there. And it's a massive income earner for the place, or tourism, big tourism boost. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see it washed out. And we do know, as you just saw, that there's a little eddy coming off the coast of Townsville, and there's a fair bit of shower and thunderstorm activity through the Townsville district over the course of the next few days. So we want to have a look at where that's occurring, and is it going to wash out the Ashes, or is it just going to be a few showers and thunderstorms? So if we take a look here, we can see that on Thursday, we can see once again fairly widespread showers and possible thunderstorms developing on the ranges. You can see a couple of showers and storms around Charters Towers. Now the carnival starts on Friday, so might be a little bit of rain around the towers on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. Friday morning's games should be able to get off okay. Friday afternoon, we do see a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity in the Charters Towers district, but it's not a constant threat of heavy rain all day. It's more of a hot, humid day, and then some showers and storms in the afternoon. And then into the evening, those storms can turn into sort of rain areas. And then as we go through Saturday, we can see the same thing. We kick off Saturday, beautiful day, and then Saturday afternoon's games, once again, probably hampered by some showers and thunderstorms in the area. Remember, with this cricket carnival, it's a fairly large event, and so there's cricket fields 20, 30 k's out of town. So surely there'll be one or two of those that'll be affected by these storms for sure. As we continue into Saturday night, we can see those storms progress towards the coast. There's our little eddy that starts to pop up Saturday night, Sunday. And on Sunday, the expectation around the Townsville district, on Sunday, let's try that again. Yep, so there we go. Saturday night, Sunday morning, that little eddy pops up off the coast. And Sunday afternoon, we're left with just a very isolated shower or storm through the area. So there's nothing there that tells me that Charters Towers Goldfield Ashes should be washed out. It does tell me that there could be some fairly solid thunderstorms around, and obviously, safety first if you are playing out there. Says a man who would drink a stubby while batting. Right, so safety first when you're out there, but we are seeing some evidence of some pretty strong lift in the area, so these storms might be pretty reasonably strong at the time through the afternoon. So if you do see lightning around, probably not the best idea to keep playing. Might just come off for a few minutes while that lightning's around. But clearly there's evidence of some showers and thunderstorms through Charters Towers, mostly affecting the afternoon games, folks, but nothing there that should be washing the thing out, and nothing there that should be stopping you from having a great time. All right, so that's the Charters Towers forecast for the Goldfield Ashes. Afternoon, evening thunderstorms. Otherwise, not a bad place to be this weekend. All right, let's go through. I just want to make sure if I'll ask you guys for questions now. And I just want to make sure there's no super chats on YouTube. No, there's no. So we can just go through the chats normally. By the way, folks, our major sponsor, top left, Fair Dinkum Builds, Townsville. If you're in the market for a shed, check them out for Shed Safe accredited sheds. And if you'd like to support what we do, we've got a subscription service. Starts at $32.95 a year for all my forecasts, and then $69.95 if you want all the model graphics that we got and that sort of thing as well. So thanks for your support for those of you that can. And also tonight we're giving away. Oh yeah, we've got five subscriptions to give away, one each night for the next 5 lives for someone who asks a good question. So whoever asked probably the best question is in the we'll select for a free subscription, free year. All right. How we going? Hey, Nitso, where's the storms for Townsville, big dog? Probably west of Townsville today, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, there they are. Out the back of Paluma, out through the Mingala Range. Yeah, the steering winds for the Townsville district, not very good for thunderstorms today. Obviously the northerlies, which are driving the storms further inland. So the best chance for Townsville to pick something up will probably be overnight tonight, developing somewhere near the coastline. That's usually the case of this region in this type of setup. So if we take a look at our rainfall prospects for the Townsville district, yeah, you can see there this evening, overnight tonight, there's a chance there for overnight showers and thunderstorms in the region. But there's nothing there that makes me go wow, and the Access C North Queensland will probably back me up there. Doesn't look to be anything that makes me go wow tonight for the Townsville district. But there's plenty of chances over the next few days before all the weather then shifts up to the north and shifts offshore. Yeah, there doesn't look to be anything over there tonight by the looks of the high-res model at all. So it's not really picking up much nighttime activity at all there, Adrian. So probably tomorrow, mate. If we're not getting any activity, this is the thing though, if we don't get any activity overnight in the Townsville district, there's a really good chance that we pick up some heavy showers very close to the coast in those western and southern suburbs around about lunchtime or just before lunch, and that's what the model's going for here. So it's suggesting not much overnight, but then the atmosphere sort of explodes on the edge of Townsville, on the edge of air, and up through the Paluma Range through early afternoon or very late morning. And once again, the steering winds are going to drive those inland, but because they're forming so close to the coast, there'll be a period there where the coastline could get impacted. All right, good question, Adrian, sorry. Melinda, hi. Hi, Melinda. G'day, Hillary. Lucy, hi, Nitso. I've just now been able to watch and listen to your reports for today. Thanks so much for your help and support. No worries, Lucy. Thanks for watching. Gumeri has the best bakery. Gumeri. I don't know where Gumeri is. Sorry, that's my naivety. Hello, Nitso. Thanks. No worries, Sue. Well worth it, says Patricia. Oh, that's our subscription. Thanks, Patricia. I'm glad you enjoy it. Hi, mate, from Home Hill. Thanks for keeping us safe. BJ, no problems, mate. I enjoy doing this, so I enjoy cutting through the bullshit and giving you the information that you need. Hello from Lynn. Hi, Lynn. Jenny, love your work, Nitso. Thanks for tuning in, Jenny. Anne, hi. Chris Barton. Hi, Anne. Chris from Mackay. Any info on the Fitzroy River? Or Chris, mate, that's going into hydrology. That's not what we don't know anything about that stuff, man. Hydrology is a different type of science to meteorology. So I stay in my lane. So, mate, I can't give you any idea about the Fitzroy. So what you would need to do is go to the Bureau of Meteorology's website and check their rain and river height areas for that. So if you go to... Let's go to Reg. We'll use their old site because I don't know how to navigate their new one yet. All right, latest rainfall and river conditions. If I go down to Rocky, which is down here. All right, so that's the latest warning with all the... and you can see here the latest river heights by clicking on the Fitzroy. And you can see there all the river heights of the Fitzroy River. Yeah, should be there. Have I got the right river? Yeah, I have, yeah. So all the river heights of the Fitzroy River, and you can then plot them, and there's a table of values there so you can see if they're going up or down, mate. So that's your best bet. Other than that, the disaster dashboard, the council there has a disaster dashboard that you do need to be checking, and in there they'll have flood what's the name? Flood cameras, so you can actually see what's going on in the river system. All right, so that's my best bet to you there, Chris. But as I say, mate, hydrology, that's not our area, bud. So we can't answer your question there. Cassie, good evening, Nitso. Good evening, Cass. Hi from Rockhampton, Tony. Hi, Tony. Heading up to Townsville on the weekend to move house with Dee Dee in Townsville. Hopefully some good news for Townsville this weekend. Still going to be showery and stormy, but not necessarily heavy, widespread rainfall that should be killing the blocking roads and things like that. But probably a bit of surface water, and yeah, surely it'll be it'll still be showery and stormy through Townsville over the weekend, but nothing there that once again makes us go wow. Vicky. Kojak. Yeah, Kojak. That's I remember he's a Greek detective, Greek-American detective from the 1970s. Played by what's his name? I should know him. He's a countryman. Telly Savalas. He used to play Kojak. He's a good actor. Yeah, and I remember my parents introduced me to. No, I think my grandparents introduced me to him from Greece when they came over, and they said, "Oh, you got to watch this show." And so I remember it from when I was a really little kid, and they showed me the show of this Telly Savalas called Kojak, and so I've nicknamed Koji Kojak. So if you hear me say anything about Kojak, it's just me, just doing my thing. The only weather channel to watch. Thanks for the updates, Sean. Thanks, Sean. I live on the Fitzroy River in Rocky, watching it rise slowly. Yeah, Tony, keep an eye on those flood gauges, and hopefully these ones are working, because I've heard there's been some dodgy ones up there further north in the northwest. So hopefully the Fitzroy ones are working. And mate, just make sure you keep an eye on your disaster dashboard. They'll be the ones that'll sound the alarm if something needs to happen for you. Zabinator, still bugger all here in Pentland, 20 millimetres since the day the cyclone crossed the coast. Yeah, you and Charters Towers are the same, man. You've been just north of everything, Zabinator. There's a good chance here, though, that the next sort of couple of days you'll sort of get a fair bit. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to get flooded, no, but you're going to get a fair bit out of it. A fair bit of shower and thunderstorm activity, right? Tomorrow... what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 3 days of pretty solid thunderstorms. Brooke, evening, Nitso. Evening, Brooke. Good to have you with us. I remember you from a couple of times. You've been to a few of these now. Good on you, Brooke. Thanks for tuning in. Emma. Hey, Emma Vinson. I think I know who you are. Love watching these live videos. You explain everything in terms that we all understand and are pretty spot on with your forecast. None of the other mumbo jumbo. A lot of other weather pages spill regarding the weather events we have coming. Yeah, one of the things, Emma, thank you for that. One of the things that, you get taught is, what was the saying that I remember? That if you know your shit, you can dumb it down. If you don't know your shit, you'll use big words to sound like you know your shit. All right? So, and that's so every time, like I can do the big words, but I also need to try and connect with people and try and explain things in terms that they can understand. And our subscription service does a bit of both, but mostly I try and use the terminology that most people will understand. All right, so and I think that's the difference. If you know your shit, you can dumb it down well. If you don't know your shit, you're going to start using big words to sound like you know your shit. It didn't. The saying that I was taught didn't go like that. It was a little bit more nuanced and succinct, but you know what I mean. David. Do you think Townsville will get any more rain? Yeah, David, there's a few showers and thunderstorms for Townsville coming. If not tonight, if not overnight tonight, through the back end of tomorrow morning into about lunchtime. And then there's plenty more chances for showers and thunderstorms. But listen, we're not expecting flooding rain. So when we take a look once again for Townsville, mate, let's have a quick look here at the sort of rainfall estimates. We're not looking at something huge, but we're looking at still a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. So potentially over the next, by the time it all clears on Sunday or Monday, we're probably looking at, around 50 to 100 mils through the Townsville district, which is substantial rainfall. Remember, Townsville only averages 220, 250 for the month, and 50 to 100 over the next 4 or 5 days. It's pretty substantial rainfall for that part of the world. It's just that a lot of Townsvillians are desensitised to that level of rainfall now because of the ridiculous amount of rain that they've had the last few years. Patrick. Hey, Pat. You'll be looking forward to the Ashes, Pat. You're from out there. Thanks, mate. Looks like a good weekend for the Ashes. No. Yeah, it does, mate. It looks like a good weekend. Pretty warm and humid. Couple of storms, as I said. The afternoon games might be a bit stormy. The morning games I'll be fine. Will we see you out this way? No, I can't, mate. I work every single day, unfortunately, and there's a lot of weather. While there might not be a hell of a lot of weather in Queensland, there's a lot of weather in the Northern Territory that I've got to cover on that particular day, mate. So I can't, for the subscribers, so I can't afford to take a weekend off, but would have loved to. If you ever have the Ashes in the winter, I'll be there for sure. Ryan, thank you for trusted info. No worries, Ryan. Thanks for tuning in, bud. Karen, thank you. In Red Lynch, Cairns, last couple of days had insane catabatic winds. Oh, boom. Even today? That's a surprise, Karen. You even had catabatics today. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's have a look. I didn't expect that to be the case. I expected it yesterday, and I expected the day before, and the day before that, which we didn't get the day before that. But I didn't expect it today. That's strange. All right, let's have a look at that. That's good feedback. Thanks, Karen. Let's have a look. Were we supposed to get catabatics today? Oh, yes, we were. There you go. I missed that. I must have missed that in my analysis today. Yep, there it is there. Yep, so the model was predicting catabatics this morning. Yep, there it is, about 30 to 35 knot gusts. Yeah, not as strong as some of the other mornings, but still pretty strong, certainly just south of Red Lynch. Oh, yeah. Yep, good call. All right. That was... Who was I just speaking to there? Yep. Karen, yep. All right, Helen from Air. Hey, Helen, a couple of showers and thunderstorms your way for the next few days, Helen. So hope you enjoy those, but then we should start seeing a clearance from Sunday, mate. Hearing rumours of a cyclone hitting Hervey Bay. Who said that, Mike? You're geeing me up. You must be geeing me up because of what happened 2 nights ago. Yeah, you must have been here 2 nights ago listening to that new lady who was saying, oh, cyclone hitting Hervey Bay. No cyclone hitting Hervey Bay. Can I restate that for the record again tonight? No cyclone anywhere near Hervey Bay. Trev Dav, love the Kojak, mate. Yeah. I definitely used to like watching Kojak, especially with my grandparents from Greece. They would, they loved him, Telly. I think he sadly passed away 20 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago now, in the 90s. He passed away in the 90s, I think, Telly. My grandparents were devastated when he passed away. Leanne, when are you expecting the Coral Sea low to become a New Zealand problem? Heading to Monday for a week. Yeah, during that week. Mona, if you're heading there on Monday, we're expecting it to become a New Zealand problem. Right. So we're expecting it to become a New Zealand problem at some stage, next week on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in that time frame. And you can see though that it's weakened a fair bit by the time it gets to New Zealand, and what it tends to do is it changes its structure, so it's not the same. It's not like a tropical cyclone by the time it gets to New Zealand. It's very different in terms of its structure, probably very weak, much weaker from an intensity perspective. It might produce 100 k an hour sort of winds, probably not going to be much more than that by the time it gets to New Zealand, and it does that, what we call extratropical transition, into an extratropical cyclone. But you can see that there's a reasonable confidence there that it gets quite close to, if not hits New Zealand as even a weakening extratropical transitioning system. So that's something there that you probably need to pay attention to, and make sure you listen to the New Zealand meteorological agencies there. They'll keep you warned if they need to for that. But at this stage, mate, to answer your question, Wednesday probably the earliest. Thursday or Friday seems to be the most likely time where it'll impact New Zealand. Enjoy your trip anyway, Leanne. Hey, listen, don't let this silly thing stop you from enjoying your trip. Too many people do that. They let the weather stop them from having a good time on their trip. Don't do that. Enjoy your trip. Queenslander here, but travelling to Norfolk Island around 24th of Jan. So following closely regarding tracking that way. Yeah, 24th. It'll be all over by then. Yeah. No, 24th. Yeah, you should be, well, good to go. Who said that? 24th? Hillary, Queenslander here, but travelling to Norfolk around. Well, hang on, around or on the 24th? If it's the 24th, you're good. If it's around, and as in 22nd, 23rd, 22nd, you might have a problem. 23rd, you should be getting better. 24th, you should be good. All right, so yeah, just I'm a little bit dubious about what you mean by around the 24th of Jan. Have a go prospecting, says nice report. Cheers. Thanks, mate. Yeah, it's still a bit hazy though, eh? That one in the Northern Territory, she's still a bit hazy. So don't quote me on everything I said about that one because we're still a little bit all over the place with that one. Zabinator, Ashes is usually Australia Day weekend, which is 2 weekends away. Yeah, but they've changed it this year. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I just found out about it last week that it was changed to this weekend. I think it might be something to do with schools, maybe, because a lot of the fields are used on the school grounds. So a lot of the school grounds have their cricket fields, so it might have something to do with that. You know, and you can't have the Goldfield Ashes without the schools on board because they have so many cricket fields in the actual schools that they can use, and without the school support, and you can't have a bunch of inebriated adults on school grounds alongside with kids, so that might have had something to do with it. But hey, listen, I don't know. But anyway, it is this weekend. Lucy, no worries. Debbie, thanks, Nitzo. I asked for a report for weather between Rocky and Mackay so we had confidence to head north. Mate, your blood needs bottling. Don't ever retire. Don't ever retire early to the Greek islands. Oh man, it's tempting, I'll tell you. Whenever I go to those Greek islands, it's so tempting to just die there on the beach. Gold should be good after the rains. Yeah, that's a good point. Have a go prospecting says gold should be good after the rains. Yeah, it'll certainly wash a bit of topsoil away, and yeah, well, maybe. There's always a silver lining to everything, isn't there? I like your thinking. Stephen, thanks, Nitzo. Anthony, love your work. Mr. Guns, thanks, mate. Diane, thank you. Christy, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. How's Australia Day looking overall? Anthony, a bit early to say, man. With so much stuff going on, it's a bit early to say for Australia Day. Yeah, a bit early. So obviously there's the low here. What it might or might not do, we don't know. It may then start to move eastwards again. We don't know. There's a lot of don't knows in there. Or there's not a lot of, I can tell you with any sort of certainty what's happening around Australia Day. What I can see is potentially some moisture coming back into Queensland's north. So, you know, as we get to before Australia Day, it all finds up, right? And then as we get to Australia Day, as we get to that weekend of Australia Day, we start to see the moisture come back into the state. So the cyclone in the Coral Sea finds Queensland up, and then we see the moisture coming back. So I would say showers and storms up north, mostly fine down south would be my guess for Australia Day. But yeah, that's just a guess, man. What's Blackwater's forecast for the next week? I don't think there's too much going on there, mate. Blackwater. Who asked me that? Ipocelio Yopo. I hope I've butchered that name, and I do apologise. But let me have a look here, mate. I'm pretty sure there wasn't anything major for Blackwater, but I'll just make sure that I'm not talking out of turn. All right. So we still got some nice thunderstorm activity through the Central Highlands, by the way. That's probably why you're asking me, because you're wondering if this is going to keep up. And my answer to you is probably not. So today's probably the last solid day of rain for Blackwater. Tomorrow there's a chance you might be on the southern boundary. So there's a fair bit of storm activity up around Claremont, Ballyendo, Moranbah, and up towards Charters Towers. But for Blackwater itself, you're probably right on that edge. See that? You're just on the edge. We're expecting a fair bit of rain overnight and tomorrow up around Mackay and the Mackay with Sundays area. And that rain will sort of filter southwest or west-southwestwards. But you're going to be a little bit too far south, I reckon, for Blackwater to pick up that any heavy rain. You might pick up sort of the scraps off the table, as in a little bit of light drizzle that comes off that. And then just the very, very small chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm operating around Blackwater over the course of the next week or so, mate. But nothing listen, nothing major that makes me go, wow, there's some big rain coming your way. All right, so it's just a matter of picking up a couple of showers and thunderstorms if you're lucky or unlucky, depending on whether you want them or not. That's it. So today was the last decent chance of rain you had. Tomorrow you're going to be on the southern boundary, and then after that it's just isolated showers and storms for the next week or so. Before the wet season starts, how do you know where cyclones may form? We don't, Bella. We have no idea where cyclones will form before the season starts. What we look for are decent, where we've got decent atmospheric signals that are a little bit either different to climatology. So we're looking for maybe signals that show the upper atmosphere is going to be warmer or cooler, signals that show that the surface of the water might be warmer or cooler. They're the sort of things we're looking for. We're looking for broad scale patterns, so we know that if it's an El Nino or El Nino, we know that that's potentially going to be a slower cyclone season, and we offset that with any positive factors that we see. If we see it's a La Nina, and then we see on top of that, like this La Nina where the Coral Sea was very warm, on top of the fact that we had a La Nina, we could see that, yeah, this is probably going to be a fairly decent cyclone season for the Coral Sea. That doesn't mean Queensland, it means the Coral Sea. So we could see those things ahead of time, but we can't say that Cyclone X is pushing into place Y in January the 25th from the start of the season. We can't do that. There's no way our technology allows us to do that, man. But yeah, we sort of, it's an educated guess based on a number of factors, right? So the ENSO factors, IOD factors in the Indian Ocean, general ocean temperatures around Australia, upper level patterns, whether or not the models are picking up rain signals around, and are they picking them up over water? Are they picking them up over land? Obviously, if there's rain signals over water, it means that something's destabilizing the atmosphere over the water to create those rain signals. So all of that stuff is stuff that we think about when it comes to the seasonal forecast, but we can never tell you where. I mean, we struggle to tell you where a cyclone's going to go with 2 days notice. All right, so we're not going to be able to tell you with 3 months or 4 months notice. So is there convection for Australia Day weekend? Yeah, in the northern parts of Queensland, mate, and probably in the northern parts of the Northern Territory, Matt. Yeah, so we're looking at some convection, but then how much? Still a fair way away. Too far away to know. Not much going on for southern Queensland, I wouldn't think. Lena, hey Nitso, can you tell me about random heat storms, please? Yeah, a lot of times random heat storms will form in areas where there's slightly elevated country, or areas where that, so these are storms that don't have any boundaries that form on. So these aren't your sea breeze storms. Sea breeze storms, we know where they're going to form. They're going to form on the leading edge of a sea breeze. These random heat storms that just pop up are going to pop up over slightly either elevated areas, so a little bit higher than other areas around them, or areas that don't have as much tree or water at the bottom, at the surface. Those areas are going to provide the strongest heat which then can be lifted. So those random storms are more likely to form over a patch that is not full of trees, not full of water, so not over a lake. They're going to form on maybe the edge of a lake, just past where all the trees are on the side of the lake. That's where they might form. Wherever there's a little bit of extra heat, that extra little push up into the atmosphere is what those heat storms need. And so that could come from the fact that you're 200 meters higher than your mate down the road, and that could be enough to create that heat that we need, that initial heat going up into the atmosphere first. And that's how we can create a storm over your little patch of paradise versus old mate down the road who's a little bit lower down, so he might be on a little valley or something, and then you get the storm and he doesn't. And then the other one is that typical case where the Burdekin Dam, we find in the north of Queensland. I don't know, for those of you that aren't from there, you won't know what I'm gibbering about, but the Burdekin Dam is actually not a magnet for thunderstorms, but around the Burdekin Dam, there's a fair bit of tree coverage, but then just around that tree coverage, that's a big magnet for thunderstorms. And that areas around Collinsville, those sort of regions just away from the Burdekin Dam, really, really sharp magnets for thunderstorm activity. The Burdekin Dam, we tend to find that those heat storms, as they get to the dam, they tend to die. And the reason is that while you think there's a water body there and you think, oh, that storm's going to be fed by so much moisture at the surface, what's actually happening is the storm's moving over a cooler surface. And so as it moves over the cooler surface, it actually degrades, or it actually starts to die over a cooler surface. So in answer to your question, mate, a random heat storm, look, there is always an element of randomness about it, but generally speaking, we're looking for it developing in slightly higher country than around the areas around it, and in hotter country than the area around it. So if there's one little patch that doesn't have trees and it gets to 40 degrees, and the patch with trees only gets to 34 or 35 degrees, I'd be looking for the patch without trees and the heat storm to start popping up on top of that area. Okay? So that's what I'd be looking for there. Craig, no, none well once again. I'm not sure what that means, Craig, but okay. Lucy, my daughter is... Oh, I think you said done well? Okay, thanks, man. My daughter is supposed to be heading here from Bowen to celebrate Christmas finally. What are the odds? Where are you, Lucy? My daughter is heading here from Bowen. I don't see any issues, man. Look, the Bowen-Mackay area is going to cop a fair bit of rain in the next 24 to 48 hours. Let's have a look at what's going on around Mackay. I'm pretty sure there's a fair bit of rain going on offshore. Yeah, it's coming into the coast. So that offshore stuff should be coming into the coast overnight. So we are expecting to see a fair bit of rain through this region tonight. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be travelling overnight if that's what you're saying, if she's coming to celebrate Christmas finally. Yeah, as long as she's not travelling tonight, she'll be fine. We are expecting to see, as I said, in the Bowen-Mackay area, we are expecting to see a fair bit of rain in the next 24 hours or so. So you can see there a little bit of a hot spot, and then a much bigger hot spot as we go into early tomorrow morning, and then it sort of settles down in the afternoon. Okay, so there is a bit of rain coming between Bowen and Mackay in the next 24 hours, well, the next 12 to 18 hours, and then she'll be fine. Tatiana, currently living in Norfolk Island. If the cyclone comes this way, do we know how bad it'll be? No, it's too early to know. Tatiana, it's too early to know at the moment, mate, how bad it'll be. I don't think we have... Yeah, so we don't deal with Norfolk Island, so I don't think we have an island overlay for Norfolk on our weather centre. So... yeah, it's one of those ones where we do expect it to intensify. We probably expect it to be a Cat 2, 3 or 4 at its peak. I don't see it becoming a 5. I don't see it staying a 1. So the idea would be that the impacts... Listen, for you to be impacted on Norfolk, the system would have to move just a little bit to your west, because the eastern side is the strongest side of this system as it approaches you. Okay, so if you find yourself east of the cyclone, and within 100 kilometres or so east of the cyclone, you're going to see some pretty big impacts of it. If you find yourself more than, say, 20 or 30 kilometres on the western side of the cyclone, you shouldn't get too many impacts from it. It is going to be a very eastward dominant system when it comes down that way, due to, I won't go into why, but due to a few different meteorological things that are going on around it. But the ideal would be that it passes just to your east, mate, and then you might get a bit of wind, not much rain. Hopefully that might happen there. But as I say, the problem that we're facing here is we've got a very large... So I'll take this out and I'll just give you a look there. We've got a very large sort of error margin. By the time we get down to Norfolk, I mean, geez, it could be anywhere from, 500, 600, 700 Ks away on the eastern side to a couple of 100 Ks on the western side. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see these solutions here. See these dots here that come very, very close just to the west of Norfolk? You don't want to see those ones come off, because those ones are going to give you the most significant impacts as the system comes through. And the time there that we're looking for is Tuesday and Wednesday. So Tuesday or Wednesday of next week is the timing, but that might change depending on forward speed for Norfolk. So yeah, it is, once again, you don't want to find yourself on the eastern side within 100 Ks, or the western side within about 20 or 30 Ks. Good Mary is in South Burnett. Okay. Do you think the weather has shifted upside down? South storms getting worse than the north? No, Jermaine, I don't think so. I think the storms are doing what they're supposed to do. I think we're getting the strong thunderstorms in the south, and then we're getting the very heavy rainy storms in the north, and that's what should happen in climatology, mate. Our jet stream is strong down here. Our jet stream is very weak by the time it gets up here, and so that makes sense that the big storms are down south, the big rain is up north. What we were seeing for the last few years were signs that there was a fair bit of tropical moisture coming down into the south. Places like southeast Queensland for the last decade or so have done very well from rainfall, particularly the coastline. I'm not talking about generally southeast Queensland, but the coastline have done really well from rainfall, and northeast New South Wales as well, because we've had those tropical incursions into the south of that moisture, where the jet stream or an upper low has brought down all that tropical moisture into them. But no, man, generally I'm finding the strong storms are where they should be, which is down in the southern parts and the subtropics, and the heavy rain is where it should be, which is the far northern tropics, or the northern tropics. All right, so yeah, I'm not seeing evidence of that, Jermaine. Thanks, Nitzo, for the weather update on cyclones from Jesse Whitsundays. No worries, Jesse. Don't forget, you got a bit of rain coming tonight, mate, and tomorrow morning. Christy, Marion, Queensland in for more rain. Yes, Christy. Yep, Marion is in for more rain. Probably the next couple of days, and then sort of clearing up over the weekend. The forecast for Ipswich is a chance of a storm from this weekend. Do you have any idea if they will occur, and if so, will they be severe? I mean, we can have a look. I usually have a better idea in the morning of the day, because we need to see how the morning pans out, or how the first couple of hours of the morning pans out. But we can always have a look now and just sort of see what we can come up with. That's why I don't do my subscriber forecasts until the morning of. I don't like doing them the night before, because we just don't know how we start the day. And southeast Queensland's very much notorious for how they start the day. Sometimes you'll have an absolutely beautiful big storm day, and because it's drizzling in the morning, you'll get none of it. Let's have a look. What do we got? Yeah, so you've got some decayed thunderstorm activity coming through. What's that? Ooh, Thursday night. Yeah, that looks like it's decaying, though, as it's getting to you. Let's have a look here at the forecast ground radar. Probably make that out a little better. Yeah, so you can see, yeah, we've got some nice storms going through the Darling. I'll just zoom us out so you can see what I'm talking about. You've got some nice storms out through the Darling Downs in northern New South Wales. It turns into a bit of a thundery line of rain. And, yeah, it does look like it's on the dying trend as it gets to you, mate. So I wouldn't be too concerned about a thunderstorm tomorrow. I mean, let's have a look at some other data there. And I'm not overly concerned about anything severe, not at this stage. But once again, we don't do the storm forecast until the morning, so that's when you probably need to be asking me that. Yeah, we're not getting a lot of instability. Look, I think Friday's a better chance. Friday's a good chance. That's a nice boundary through Toowoomba. What sort of steering have we got? Thunderstorm steering winds are... By the way, you can get all this in our subscription service. Thunderstorm steering winds, Showalter indices, all the different indices for storms. Yeah, that's a solid storm day Friday, and that is a chance at severe activity. So, yeah, Friday, and then as we go into the weekend, let's have a look. Yeah, and we've got some precip signature there too. On Saturday, what do we got there? We got a little bit of precip signature, severe weather threat. No, it's pretty low. Showalter index, how unstable is it? Oh, it's pretty unstable again. And what are our thunderstorm winds doing? Okay, what's our moisture level, right? Yeah, okay, so yeah, Friday looks like a bonza storm day. Saturday looks like an okay storm day. So Friday definitely looking a little bit possibly severe. Saturday, marginally severe. If there's enough moisture in the atmosphere to support thunder. Yeah, there does look like there will be towards the end of the day. see how that moisture bumps up between 1 p.m. where it's very dry to 4 p.m. where it's slightly less dry to 7 p.m. where it's quite moist. And so, yeah, that's a nice opportunity to pick up a strong little thunderstorm there on Saturday as well. And then I'd imagine Sunday, are we still looking? Yeah, we're still looking at the same thing. Yep, some isolated showers and thunderstorms Sunday. I'm not sure the dynamics are as strong. Let's have a look here. Thunderstorm steering winds. Yeah, southwesterlies. That's all right. Showalter index should be unstable enough. Yeah, it's not quite as unstable. Yeah, so that maybe early. Maybe because they start early. Yeah, so look, there is a chance. So long story short, you've asked me a question. I've had to do all the thinking as I'm answering you. Yeah, it does look like there's going to be some storms, mate. Ipswich, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, Saturday for the bigger ones. Sunday, decent chance as well. All right. And severe, will they be severe? Yeah, probably Fridays will. Saturdays could be. Sundays, less likely, but not out of the question. Especially, the bomb can be a little bit overprotective of you, southeast Queensland folk. And sometimes they'll issue severe thunderstorm warnings for stuff that, you know. Anyway, thanks, Nick. So great work, mate. Richard. Yep. Thank you, Richard. If you can't navigate the new bomb site, any chance for us? Look, I'm sorry if I gave it a go. And the problem is they released it live to everyone at the start of the wet season, at the start of the bloody storm season. Didn't they? I think it was like October or something they released it, didn't they? Or even November or something. They released it really late. Why release it at that time? Why not release it in May or June when no bastard cares about the weather at that stage because it's just cold, dreary and whatever, and up north it's just cold and warm and dry? Why not release it then, give people 6 months to play with it, and then, you know, when it's ready for the storm season? But they released it in the middle of a storm outbreak in October or November, whenever the hell they did it, and everyone's kicked up a stink about it. I mean, it's just, this is the thing that irks me about that agency. They just make dumb decisions all the time. Like, it's not a one dumb decision. It's just dumb decision over dumb decision over dumb decision. Just, there's got to be someone with a bit of common sense that they need to employ. Here's what they need to do. They need to employ 3 common people. Just no scientists, no freaking smart people, just 3 people. And just go, oi, we're going to do this. And then one of them will go, one of them should be a farmer, one of them should be a grazier, and one of them should be just a person who's a tradie, all right? And if the tradie can't work it out, the farmer and the grazier can't work it out, then don't freaking do it. Just, that's what they need to do. A panel of 3 bloody dinky-die Aussies. Forget the freaking scientists, because they're obviously making dumb decisions over and over and over again. So put a bunch of dinky-die Aussies in there, and if the dinky-die Aussies can't work it out, then shelve it. Bugger it off. That's what they need to do. That way we're going to get a lot more common sense in a lot of the stuff that they put out. Anyway, Chris, thank you very much. No worries. Gumari. We need some rain up here again. It's very hot and sticky. I'm not sure where you are, Dave. Need rain in Victoria. Yeah, that's outside of our area, Dave. I guarantee you need rain in Victoria, but I don't know how you're getting it. That's a highway question. We'll leave that one. Emerald, I think we've talked about, we talked about Blackwater, but same thing applies for Emerald, mate. So we're going to see some isolated showers and thunderstorms through that region over the course of the next week. There's potential there's obviously big rain there tonight. Well, not there, but around there tonight. And then what we're going to gradually see is that big rain will sort of head a little bit more northwards. So, yeah, so you can see tomorrow there's another chance there of showers and thunderstorms for your area. Basically coming down from that, there's a fair bit of instability around Mackay with Sundays, and then a fair bit of rain streaming down into that area. And then beyond that, it's just isolated showers and thunderstorms for the next week. It's going to be some locally patchy, very heavy falls for half an hour. You know, the typical stuff you get from a thunderstorm. The storms aren't going to be everywhere, but there's going to be enough of them around to keep you interested around the place. And then maybe around the back end of next week, we could see some slightly more intense or more widespread convective activity. I think that was happening around Wednesday, Thursday, actually. Yeah, where we get something a bit more scattered. Yeah, there we go. What's that? Wednesday. Yeah, so we're getting something a bit more scattered on Wednesday. But outside of that, mate, I'm not overly concerned about heavy rain through Emerald. Tomorrow's probably your last chance of picking up some storms. And then it's just very hit and miss from there. All right. Is there storms or heavy rain forecast for those areas tonight or the next day or two? I'm not sure what areas, man. Cherie, can anyone tell me if the highway... Oh, Rocky to Marlborough. Yeah, so there's heavy rainfall on the way for the Mackay region tonight. And then beyond that, it's just showers and thunderstorms for that entire area. Thanks as always, Nitzo. No worries. No worries, Melzy. Is there storms or heavy rain? Yep, as we said, mate, around... yeah, so there'll be some heavy rainfall in the Mackay with Sundays, and then showers and thunderstorms will continue for the Mackay with Sundays for the next couple of days. Celine, and you know your shit. Thank you for keeping it real. No worries, Celine. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Nitzo. Love your work. Signed up the other night and bought your top package. Ah, awesome. Thanks, Cody. Awesome. Thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying it and hope you're learning to use it. The Weather Centre can take a little bit of time to learn how to use and make best use of it. But yeah, it's a really good tool. I use it for most of my forecasting. I use other tools as well, but this is my primary tool for forecasting. Andrew, cheers, Nitzo, for another excellent stream. Love how you use the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, yeah. And it's not just for numpties. Like, there's people out there who don't make it their life's mission to know the weather, right? And you've got to be able to relate to those people too. You know, that the weather's important to them, but they just haven't learnt about it as you know, they're not as learned about it. And so you've got to keep it as simple as possible. Rhonda, yes, we have some Lanai's winds early this morning. Yeah, the downslopes, yep. Will there be more cyclones this year than previous years? I think so. We're already up to, what are we, 7 or 8? I forget what we're up to, but there's 10 per year normally. That's our average. And there's been 8, and we've still got 3 months of the cyclone season to go. So, yeah, I've got a feeling it's going to be a pretty big year. And remember that our cyclone season peak is from the second week of March to the second week of April. That's the month period where we have the most cyclones in the region. All right, that second week of March to the second week of April. That 1 month period is the most active part of the cyclone season. We usually average 3 to 4 cyclones in that 1 month period. Out of our 10 for the year, we average 3 to 4 in that 1 month. So yeah, it's probably gearing up to be a bonza season. How much rain for Mareeba? Gina, we're just looking at showers and thunderstorms up there. Mareeba's, for those that don't know, Mareeba's up on the Atherton Tablelands near Cairns. And at this stage, mate, we're just sort of looking at showers, thunderstorms, hit and miss sort of stuff. I don't think there should be much today going on. Yeah, very hit and miss, isolated rubbish there today. And look, to be honest, it's probably going to be like that for a while, where we're getting a bit of hit and miss stuff. Yeah, same tomorrow, same thing that you got today, tomorrow. Then Friday, yeah, same thing that you got today, tomorrow and Friday. Maybe a little bit more convective activity on Friday than tomorrow. And then as we go through the weekend, I suspect we're going to see, yeah, generally showers and thunderstorms, Gina. So, you know how that goes. If you get under one of those on the tablelands with the amount of moisture in the atmosphere up there, you could easily get yourself 50 mils in an hour or two. But you know, your mate down the road who lives in Tolga won't get anything, right? Or it could be the other way around. Your mate in Tolga will get 50 mils and you'll get nothing. So it's very difficult to pinpoint location of where the storms are going to be. But we can see there that for at least the next 4 or 5 days, maybe today and tomorrow is probably your lowest chance of storms. But then after that, the next 4 or 5 days after that point, we're probably looking at generally scattered showers and thunderstorms for the area. And Mareeba should do pretty well out of that setup. Okay? So, yeah, that's some decent stuff there. By the way, I think I've met you, Gina. Well, I think we've met before. So, hello again. I think I was up in Mareeba for a growers conference or something a few years back. Yeah, and we met there. Cassie, those winds in Cairns yesterday were definitely katabatic. Yeah, they certainly were. Who loves your baby? Telly Sava. Yes, that's it. Hillary, well done. Yeah, that's it. Looking like a good storm coming into Hewenden at the moment, sitting in my work camp, mate. Yeah, there would be. Theophilus Kojak, who loves your baby? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Good to see some other people know about Kojak. So yeah, if you hear me call Koji Kojak, it isn't a new cyclone. It's just Nitzo's pet name for Koji. Hey, g'day. Thanks for your updates. Is there much heavy rain forecast to the south of Ayr down to Rocky for the next couple of days? Sheree, I think we've answered this. The next 24 hours, yeah, I think I've already answered you here. 24 hours, there's going to be some heavy rain around the Mount Mackay region. Chris, any expected rain next week in Bluewater, Townsville after Monday? Dave, probably not much, mate. So after Monday, we've got... So once again, I've got to preface this with we don't know what that Gulf low is going to do. We think it's going to go off the Northern Territory, in which case what I'm telling you here is probably going to be right. But if it does something crazy, then what I'm telling you here could be wrong. So just preface that to start with. But assuming that we're right and assuming that the low will go west, not east, Monday should be, or Sunday should be the last of the big stormy period. And then from there, it's just isolated showers for the week. And you can see there, isolated showers, most likely overnight early in the morning for a place like Bluewater, which is in the northern parts of Townsville. So overnight early in the morning shower activity, and any afternoon thunderstorm activity will probably be on or west of the ranges. All right, so that's the expectation. And then once again, nighttime shower activity will be the order of the area. So it's not going to be any heavy rainfall. It'll just be that very localised Townsville typical stuff where a couple of suburbs will get 10, 20 mils, a couple of suburbs will just look on and won't get a drop. So that's the sort of thing. And most likely for that will be nighttime hours for that sort of stuff. Afternoon will probably be on and west of the ranges, Dave. So nothing there that's major coming up for that next week. And the reason being, we've got a cyclone in the Coral Sea that's going to try and circulate dry air. We've got a monsoon that wants to keep trying to circulate monsoonal air. And there's going to be a bit of clashing, which is going to create some isolated storms. But the dry air overall is winning that battle for at least next week up until sort of Friday or Saturday of next weekend. I'm watching from New Zealand. We might be getting a cyclone. Yeah, it won't be a tropical cyclone, but you might be getting whatever's left of the cyclone when it becomes extra tropical, and that's towards the end of next week. Glad to have found your channel. Love weather news, and your reporting style is very informative. Thanks for watching, Cassandra. Glad to have you with us. Hey, it's a buddy. Without sounding like a complete goose, what or how is the best to learn how to read, or which model, or is likely? Ooh. Yeah. Okay, so for a rookie, Bear. For a rookie, the best model to use for rainfall is going to be the Euro model overall. Okay, for if you just want a quick view at what happens here rain-wise. So like if someone asks me a random question, I'll quickly check the Euro model. All right, if I'm not sort of invested deep diving into that question. Like if there's something major happening, I'll then use a number of models. But if it's someone just asking me sort of a random, will X get rain? I'll just have a quick look at the Euro. But listen, the best way to do it is using an ensemble and weighted ensemble. Now, the Bureau of Meteorology has the ADFD. And the ADFD is what's on their website as well. You can get the ADFD modelling on their website too. And I find that the ADFD is a little bit conservative in big rain events and a little bit too spread out in isolated pocket events. But overall, it gives us a pretty decent idea at who's getting rain and the sort of level of rain. So when you see this blue-green stuff, you know you're getting something. When you see the orange stuff, you know you might be getting something a bit more. When you start seeing the purple stuff, then you know, oh, geez, I'm in for it here. All right, so, you know, that's the sort of, if you're just looking for some really basic rain forecast, and really 30 seconds I can see what's going on, the ADFD model from the Bureau of Meteorology is probably an underrated tool. Obviously then if you're starting to get into these reds and purples, so if you're starting to get into the 40, 50 plus millimetres, then you want to start to dive into things, but then you go into the rabbit hole, right? It's no longer a 30-second quick look, it's now a 10, 15-minute deep dive into what I'm getting and why I'm getting it. But if you're just looking for the most rookie basic thing you could ever use, that's reasonable, not not very accurate, but reasonable, I would try the ADFD from the Bureau of Meteorology. They've got it on their Met Maps on I forget what they call it, Met Viewer or something, and we've obviously got it in our subscription service as well. So and that gives you a pretty good basic rundown. If you got the blues and the greens, you know that it's probably storm activity or a bit of light rain. If you're getting yellows, then you know you're in for some pretty decent storms, or if there's a widespread yellow, you might be in for pretty decent rain. And then of course, if you see any of the reds, purples, you probably need to do a bit more research, because reds and purples mean we probably need to figure out why we're getting reds and purples, right? So 50 plus millimeters on the ADFD is a big deal. So yeah, mate, that's the first. That's the way I do it if you're basically just a rookie. Christy, why do storms fizz out when they hit a range? Yeah, this is a good question, Christy, and I don't know. Or we can try to answer. I'll give you the basic answer. There's a lot more in it, but basically what happens is on the range, so the storms that form west of the range hit the range, and then at the moment they get over the range, they collapse, right? And the reason is that usually on the other side of the range is a coastline, all right? So once they get towards the coastline, there's a sea breeze. The sea breeze usually is cold air versus the relatively warm air that the storms come from. So that's why when we're on the coast, we max out at 35 degrees and we go 50k or 100k inland and they max out at 40 degrees, all right? Because the sea breeze gets the coast, and relatively speaking, that coastal air is cool and dense. Cool and dense air that comes up against that thunderstorm's leading edge won't get lifted into the storm. And so the storm can no longer lift air into itself. And so it basically chokes because it has no more air supply. And that's what happens. That's why we have the dome over all of eastern Queensland's coastal areas, is because if we don't have really strong steering winds, then the storm collapses as it comes off the range due to that cold air. Storms thrive on warm, moist air. They can't survive on cold, moist air. And so relatively speaking, the sea breeze, as far as a storm is concerned, that's just come off Charters Towers and coming to Townsville, as far as that storm's concerned, Charters Towers was hot. That's good air for it. But as soon as it gets over to Townsville and sees that 28, 29 degree temperature, that air, that northeasterly sea breeze, it's cold, relatively speaking. And so that cold air can't get lifted into the thunderstorm, all right? And that's why it collapses as it comes off the range. But that's a good question, and it's a question that I get asked a lot about, mostly from Eastern Queenslanders. But it's not just an East Queensland thing. We see it over in the Pilbara too. Those folks in the Pilbara who have to suffer 40 odd degrees every day, thinking that they're going to get a storm, and the moment it gets anywhere near that sea breeze, the storm collapses right on their doorstep. And it happens for those poor Pilbara folk so often. And you know, we whinge about it, and when we're getting 30, 32 degrees, you remember they're getting 40, 42 degrees, and for them a cool sea breeze is 35 degrees as far as the storm's concerned, because it's just come from 50 degrees. All right, so the storms come out from a 50 degree land mass, and the heat that's coming up into it, and then that 30 to 35 degree sea breeze, which is still hot, is still cold for the storm, and it basically breaks down the storm as well. So that dome is everywhere in northern Australia. It's less of a factor in southern Australia because they have stronger steering winds and they can counteract that. And they also don't have quite as strong sea breezes, generally speaking, as we do in North Queensland and Northern Territory and Northern WA. So that's why the dome is such a factor in Northern Australia, and it's less of a factor the further south we go in a stronger jet stream and stronger mid-level flow environment. Okay, Jay, what about Claremont? Claremont's the same as Emerald, Jay, so whatever I said about Emerald applies to Claremont, except Claremont might be a better chance tomorrow of seeing heavy rain. The rest of it is just showers and thunderstorms. So Claremont's still a good chance tomorrow of getting heavy rain. Yeah, humidity is going to be a killer right across the north for the next little while. Paluma, Tracy. Hey, Tracy. Paluma, nice. Thank you very much for your very informative reporting. No worries, Tracy. When will Gordonvale see some decent rain? Kira Lee, any time over the next few days, Gordonvale has a chance of picking up storms. Basically, man, especially this weekend. Really good chance for Gordonvale to pick up really good storm rainfall this weekend. Zabinator, love your morning vids. Oh, they're our subscription videos. Don't forget, folks, we've got a subscription service at weatheriq.com.au/subscribe. $32.95 for my videos and $69.95 for all of our stuff. Folks, I'm going to cut it there. My favourite Brisbane Heat are playing tonight. So if I don't have any super chats that I have to cover, no, I don't. I'm going to leave it there, folks, because I do need to watch my favourite team, the Brisbane Heat, have a go tonight. Hopefully they're having a go. I haven't got any score updates, so fingers crossed. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to talk to you again in 2 nights' time. Hopefully we'll have a pretty good idea of what that NT lows or ex-Kojak's doing, and then we can go from there. That Coral Sea system will also have formed by that stage, and we'll have a really good, I mean, we've got a pretty good idea where it's going to go now. We'll have a really good idea by that stage, I'd imagine. Thanks for watching.